Alright, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back. This is, of course, HD StarCraft, and I'm here to bring you guys another Heart of the Swarm broadcast. And today we're going to be looking at a Terran versus Zerg, and in the top right-hand corner of this frozen glacier, we have the red Terran player. His name is Neeb. And his opponent is going to be none other than BLA's Blade, who's been just on an absolute tear on my YouTube channel. Great games that I've been casting of him lately. And, you know, he's been doing such a good job, I've decided to go ahead and cast a couple more games of him. He is going to be the blue Zerg in the bottom left-hand corner of this frozen map. And I'm excited now to see how his Zerg versus Terran stacks up in comparison to his Zerg versus Protoss. And these are just good games, I think, in general to watch, because they really allow us as viewers, as a caster, as viewers, to see how the evolution of Heart of the Swarm is progressing and how you can utilize these new units and abilities when the game actually comes out. You know, it's only about a month away now from the release date, and I'm just so excited to watch some of these top tier level players play, because it gives me new ideas, gives me new strategies, I guess you could say, as to how to play Heart of the Swarm. And I'm just loving how Blade is incorporating Swarm hosts into his playstyle, because prior to watching Blade play, Swarm hosts were very hard to see utilized at a high level. They're good, but it was like most players were avoiding them, and they were just sticking to the Infestor and saying, well, this unit is obviously a lot better, even though it's nerfed. I just don't like the Swarm host. And now we have Blade kind of coming out here and saying, no, the Swarm host is actually a really great unit. You just need to you just need to know how to utilize it. And so far, I'm just really enjoying his games. And we'll see if he also goes for the Swarm host against a Terran. I know that he likes them against Protoss, and he says that they're very good against Protoss. But what about Terran? We'll see what Neeb, he does against Neeb, and we'll see what Neeb strategizes for against potential Swarm hosts. Or if he'll even, even think about that. Maybe Neeb here is just going to stick with Bio, or he's going to go with Mech. You know, only time will tell. I definitely do feel like Swarm hosts are a lot better against Mech than they are against Bio. The problem being, obviously, is against Bio, if you have a lot of Bio, then the Locusts just absolutely get shredded by Swarm hosts. They don't really do anything, and the Marines all get healed up anyways. Against Mech, though, you can actually force the Terran player to do friendly fire onto his own units with siege tanks, and you know, in general, Mech units aren't as good against a lot of Swarm hosts. So we'll just have to wait and see. Speaking about Mech, actually, one thing that I've been wondering is when the hell is Blizzard going to bring the Warhound back? Because I was always under the impression that Blizzard was planning to return the Warhound back into the game with some tweaks, obviously, but it ended up getting removed, and we've never even seen the Warhound return anymore. And there's been a lot of talk about that, yeah, is Blizzard, are you going to bring back the Warhound for Terrans? Because Terrans don't have all that many new toys to play with in Heart of the Storm. They get the Widow Mine, and that's really, I guess that's about it for Terrans. And they get the Hellbat, obviously, but you know, it's not really a new unit. It's just a transformation of the Hellion. So we'll see if Blizzard does return the Warhound in some capacity back in StarCraft 2. It'd be nice to see, I think. Factory now on the way for Neeb, and he does have 2 gases back at home. Now, obviously, you can't really say one way or another what Neeb is going for quite yet, but he could go for a quick starport to try to get a Banshee out, or he could swap the factory onto this reactor and start pumping out some Widow Mines or some Hellions. It really depends on what Neeb wants to go for. Meanwhile, on the bottom right-hand side, we do have Blade attacking the Glacier here to try to take it down and protect the potential 3rd hatchery. And, you know, I will say on this map, it's actually pretty hard to play a long-term Zerg matchup, because as you expand, you continue to expand away, further and further away from your hatcheries, and spreading out creep tumors to protect these areas and also defending these areas against potential attack is not very easy. You can see how choked off some of these points are. It doesn't really lend itself to being the best Zerg map, in my opinion, so we'll just see how this plays out. But I feel like the longer it goes on, the better of an advantage Neeb will have against the Zerg player Blade. Let's see here, Blade, does he have gas mining yet? He does have some gas going. He doesn't have Zergling speed started quite yet. But as soon as he collects 100 Vespine, I'm sure he'll start that upgrade. He does have a Roachhorn coming down right now, along with a couple of Evolution Chambers. You'll know he placed them at the front in order to funnel Hellions should they try to come in, and he can block this off with his Queens. So it's a very smart idea right there. Meanwhile, Neeb also building a supply depots in such a manner that he can go ahead and use them as kind of a moat, or like a bridge, and lift them up or pull them down if he feels like there's an impending Zerg attack. And we do have a couple of Hellions coming out along with Widow Mines. So Hellions first, and now they're going to be followed up with Widow Mines. And it looks like Neeb is preparing to do a Widow Mine Hellion drop here. But there are a few Zerglings, and they will not be able to make it up the ramp before the Medevac came out and before the Widow Mines came out. So really, that was an ineffective scout. I didn't really see anything that crucial, except for the fact that there's a factory, and he didn't see the starport, so he doesn't know that there is... Oh, he did see the starport, excuse me. So he does know now that there could be a drop coming in, and if he didn't know earlier, he should know now with the Overlord there. And the one thing to note here is Neeb actually loaded up 4 Hellbats, so he doesn't have any Widow Mines here, which is a little surprising. Usually, oh, is he gonna get the drop off? He does! With the Ignite Afterburners coming in just in the nick of time and maneuvering away from the Spore Crawler and the Queens. He gets 3 Hellbats out. One of the Hellbats died in the transport as the Medevac crashed to the ground in a burning heap of debris. But as I was saying before, it was surprising to me that Neeb didn't load up a couple of Widow Mines into that Medevac, because usually nowadays when you see a Terran player going for that early drop play, you almost always see them ferrying a couple of mines, because if you can plant down a mine or two inside the Zerg income lines, oh, that is just so devastating for Zerg to deal with. Of course, nowadays, Spore Crawlers don't require an Evolution Chamber anymore. You can move the Spore Crawlers and place them nearby the Widow Mines in order to take out the mines as well, but nevertheless, it's always annoying when a Terran player drops off a couple of Widow Mines inside your mineral line, but Neeb didn't go for that. He ended up going for a Hellbat drop. He really didn't get that many drone kills, about 6, which isn't terrible, but he lost the Medevac and he lost 4 Hellbats too, so I'm not inclined to say that that was worth it. Although that Viking coming in there and sniping out that Overlord was probably worth it, because the Viking didn't take any damage at all, and now it's just going to hide back into this little right-hand side and maybe come in, go hide there and come in later on when he feels comfortable. Meanwhile, though, is Neeb preparing to go for a 3rd expansion? Because does he have another CC? Yeah, he does. He has one at the edge of the main base, and pretty soon here he's probably going to float that up and bring that over to this vacant spot. He's already bringing a mine over there to help clear out any potential Zergling threats and just to help lay down the foundations for an expansion. And he did actually just run that mine right by the Zergling, so for now that is going to not be scouted. Meanwhile, the Overseer runs in, flies into the main base, and now Blade should realize, alright, Neeb is going for a full-on metal build. This is not going to be bio that I'm facing. And because of that, I definitely feel like Blade should think about going for the Swarm Hosts. They are great against Terran Metal. Not good against bio, but they are good against Terran Metal. Instead, what Blade is going for here, he's actually making a bunch of Mutalisks. And there's about 9 that are going to be coming out pretty soon, with +1 flyer attacks on the way as well. Now, the Mutalisk nowadays is a little bit more sturdy. It regenerates health even while inside of combat. So it basically just regenerates health all the time. So you can fly it in, it accelerates a little faster, it's more nimble, it's more agile, it's a much more effective harass unit, and we'll see if Blade is going to be able to July Zerg himself some SCV kills here, but he's bringing in the 2 Mutalisks by themselves first. He needs to wait. Very nice control right there. Waits for the main flock, and now, oh god, there's 3 Thors there though, and that's not good for the Mutalisks. Obviously, the idea behind going for Mutas against Terran Mech is to take out the Terran Metal army before the Thors come out, but the problem here is Neeb actually went for Thors pretty quickly, and he's already got 3 Thors on the field. So since he rushed the Thors instead of going for a different type of unit, the Mutas are not going to be effective. And meanwhile, we have another Hellbat drop, totaling the SCV, the drone kills to 11, and these Hellbats just pushing the drones away over to the natural. And now this Medevac Hellbat army, I don't know what he's going to be. He's actually going to boost, and it's going to drop! Oh, that Medevac boost is so nice. He's able to drop some more Hellbats over to the natural, and he ends up roasting a few more drones, whereas before you would never be able to do that with obviously with the medevacs because they didn't have the ignite afterburners before. But that was a very nice control right there from Neeb, able to get out and extracting a few more SCV, a few more drone kills. Now we do have Swarm Host coming out, and that's very smart by Blade because now he realizes, okay, you're going mass metal, you have a bunch of Thors, and obviously Swarm Hosts are good against that. They're not good against Bio, but they are good against Thors. They are good against metal. Those mutas have to be careful. Wow, they just flew so close to that Widow Mine and those Thors. I'm surprised that the mine did not proc on those Mutalisks. Very lucky right there from Blade. Now, of course, if he just stays away, he can regenerate his HP here because they do regenerate HP very, very quickly now. New addition to the Zerg. It's the Zerg gene pool for the Mutalisks, and here comes the Swarm Host now. They are starting to make their way over the Widow Mines and over the Zerg, the Terran units, but Neeb just says he doesn't care. He's now transformed the Hellions into Hellbats, so they're in serious mode right now, and they're just going to try to push the Zerg army back, although there is a lot of creep here and there's a ton of Swarm Hosts as well. I'm not sure how far Neeb is going to be able to advance onto Zerg territory because the further and deeper you go into the Zerg, you know, land, the more of a risk you pose to your Terran forces because you can get surrounded, you can get flanked, and obviously the Zerg reproduction, the Zerg's ability to reproduce, their reinforcement lines are not as long as the Terran's reinforcement lines are, so very careful here. Neeb has to be pulling a little bit of a Yoda right there, but Neeb has to be very careful right now because if he goes too deep, then I don't see him winning this fight. I don't think it's a good idea, and honestly, Blade should realize that he's just kind of hanging back right now, and in fact, he's producing drones. He says, yeah, I know you're attacking me, but I feel comfortable, man. Your army doesn't scare me, so I'm just going to make more drones, and you know, that's his thought process right now. But Neeb is going to go down to the bottom right-hand corner, thinking that he can take out a hatchery. Unfortunately for him, there is no hatchery to snipe over here on the right-hand side. And now here's the risk I was talking about because Neeb could get surrounded from all angles. He's actually effectively cornered himself down to the bottom right. Meanwhile, though, there's another medevac coming in with 4 more Hellbats. These Hellbats have just been the death of the Zerg player, roasting up a couple more drones. And it looks like, I think Blade actually got the majority of his drones out of there. And of course, he made a bunch of drones on that production tab a moment ago as well, so he can replenish any drone losses he takes from these Hellbat drops. But what is going on here? We do have Neeb coming in for an attack over to the 6 o'clock. Meanwhile, Blade is setting all of his locusts over to this right-hand side and is thinking that he can take out this planetary fortress eye for an eye, it seems like. And for sure, Neeb's going to be able to take out this hatchery. That has gone down, but Blade was unable to take out the planetary fortress, which is now actually a planetary, so it becomes infinitely more difficult to take that down. Blade has now reset his Swarm Host army in order to fight off the impending advance of Thors. Neeb actually doesn't have any backup here for his Thors at all. It's just a primarily Thor-based army, and as strong as they are, eventually they will lose to this Swarm Host base attack, or defense, I should say. And so I don't really feel like Neeb should stick around. He should be evacuating this area now. Now he's just fighting a free unit. Really, killing off Locust doesn't do anything for these Thors, nor does it change the outcome of this game. I really feel like Neeb should pull back, but he's continuing to press forward. He really wants to take out these Thors, and look at all the Locusts that are spawning out now. This time around, Neeb is going to lose this fight, and he is now in full retreat. Pretty smart here. I don't think he should stick around, but look at the Zerglings coming out of the eggs. Beautiful timing right there from Blade. Coincidental or not, I think that was intentional because it's very rare that a Zerg player remembers to utilize the larva from a fallen hatchery because the hotkey does not actually remember the larva from a hatchery that it's been taken out. So that was very smart by Blade and was able to get us around on the retreating forces. So great job right there. Neeb now back at home. Still has a massive army of Thors. He's at 233 right now. His income at 50 harvesters, under 70. He is making a potential attack here where the Swarm Hosts are, but those Locusts are just spawning out right in the nick of time. And now we have Brute Lords coming out as well. So Blade almost fully on tier 3 himself. Look at the Thor micro from Neeb, bringing back the weakened Thors to the back. Where have we seen that before? That's like some boxer-ass micro right there. Very nice control from Neeb, who is now preparing to go over to the 12 o'clock position to take out this hatchery once again. but he's got to retreat here in the middle of the map. Once again, I feel like he's overextending in the middle because there's so much creep here. He needs to comsat the creep tumors and take them down. Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to really take out the creep tumors, so every time he walks across the Zerg's vast territory, he's basically intruding on the Zerg's own home, and really Blade has no... he's okay with that, because as soon as he feels like he's in a comfortable position, Blade just goes in and takes out the Terran army. And now it looks like he will lose a hatchery here, but he should be able to clean up this mech army no problem. Neeb is in a lot of trouble here. There's no evacuation plan. It looks like he does load up a couple of Hellbats. Gonna go for a secret mission here with the Hellbats and try to once again drop into the Zerg natural expansion to do some fire-based damage. And it looks like the majority of his Terran forces were able to escape, just walking out there. And here's the Hellbats trying to roast up some drones. 58 workers have been killed this game already, and an astronomical number of drones have gone down. And you can see here that the Zerg player only has 47 workers compared to 70 for the Terran player. So in terms of economy, Neeb is in absolute control of the long-term aspect of this game in terms of how many harvesters you have, how much income you're making, and of course that's not factoring in the mules that a Terran player has to play with as well. So, well, this entire time I've been looking and I've been saying, well, Neeb has just been being so aggressive with his stores and so bold with them. It's okay, because he can reproduce them. He has more economy than the Zerg player does. And look at this now. He's transformed the Thors into high impact payload mode now. And this is where the Thors do a lot more damage against air-based units that are the capital air-based units. They lose the splash, but they do a ton more damage against units like Broodlords. So I really like the transformation of the Thors here. They can take out the Broodlords so easily. They have extended range as well. And look at those Broodlords. They are just going to go down so quickly to the Thors. But I think Blade has a good concave here. He's even got a bunch of Locusts coming out due to his burrowed Swarm Host. And unfortunately, Thors or not, those Locusts are just proving to be too much of a problem. Neeb needs more Hellbats or some type of unit on the ground to combat these Zerg-based units. And he's going to have to fall back once again here off the creep. And unfortunately for him, he just doesn't have enough. Even though the Thors are in high impact payload, he just doesn't have enough to fight off these Broodlords and the Broodlings that they continually spawn. So Neeb is pulling back now into the choke point, doing a pretty good job of fighting off what he can, but this is like the Alamo, man. This is the bridge, and Neeb is going to lose his final remaining Thor. Meanwhile, the Locusts assaulting this planetary fortress, requiring the SCVs to come and repair the planetary before it should fall down. Meanwhile, on the bottom at the 6 o'clock, once again the Hellions coming in, roasting up the drones. Drones gonna go to fight now to try to secure their homeland, but a Roach pops out. Will the Roach be able to save these drones? All the drones actually ended up going down. Great micro by Neeb, who pulls out of the way. This Thor comes to the bottom right, expecting to see a hatchery there, but there is no hatchery for him to claim. And now, what about Neeb's pocket expansion? If he should lose this, I almost feel like it's okay, because he's still got some mining expansions over here in the top left-hand side. The main important factor is, as long as he doesn't lose his factories at home, he can continue to produce this raw amount of Thors that he's making all game long. And yes, the planetary fortress did go down, but he's still at an okay supply count, 167 to 198. Remember, he is Terran. It's okay, but the one thing is actually his income count has fallen as well to match the Zerg player's drone count. So I was going to say a lot of that supply is being taken up in SCVs, but it's not. And here comes the Vikings. They are going to try to take out these Corruptors. Vikings are at 3-1. Corruptors are at 0-2, so the Vikings have a slight upgrade advantage, but they are corrupted, so they take a little bit more damage. And now more Vikings coming in. Now it's really just getting down to the nitty-gritty, down to the wire. Who is going to win this game? These Vikings are trying to assert their air dominance. It looks like they will win the fight here. And if they win the fight, then these Broodlords are in so much trouble. And in turn, if the Broodlords fall down, then the Swarm Host will have to retreat as well. Oh my god, Blade is in a lot of trouble here. He's losing his Broodlords. He's trying to reinforce with more Vikings or more Corruptors. But unfortunately for him, he just lost every single last Broodlord. And now the Corruptors are coming in, but they're a little too late to the party. Great sniping by Neeb, who gets the air dominance that he needed, and now he'll be able to push these swarm hosts away. And it looks like most of the Locusts continuing to push in, but eventually these swarm hosts are gonna have to unburrow. They cannot stay here without Broodlord support. And yeah, there we go. The swarm hosts have now fully evacuated the area, and they're gonna go now into retreat. So great play by Neeb, who keeps control over his side of the map. It's been a constant tug of war the last 27 minutes with no end in sight so far. 199 supply to 184. Both players' economies are now dwindling down to the point where there's really no return. They don't have that much money to make anymore. This Viking squad is now going over to the right-hand side, checking for the hatchery, but really the Zerg Blade never expanded over here. For the reasons I stated before in this game, it's a really bad idea to expand to the bottom right-hand corner. It's just not a place where you want to be a Zerg, because it's so easy for the Terran to take out. So Neeb says, all right, I'm just going to land my Vikings and take out this hatchery instead. Meanwhile, Neeb trying to Thor up this area. Wow, that's a lot of Thors. Look at the Thor count right now. He's got 15 Thors. Unbelievable. 16 Thors, in fact. He's got more Thors than Blade has Hydralisks. More Thors than Blade has Swarm Hosts, in fact. He's got the same number of Thors as Blade has Roaches. That is absolutely incredible. And we'll see how this game ends up. But we do have Neeb now pushing into the middle with his Thor-based army. He takes out that hatchery. Meanwhile, I don't know what was going on here, but SCVs are repairing that planetary fortress. Vikings pushing forward, take out something in the air. But the Thor army is really, this is going to come down to the last final battle. The Thors versus the Swarm Hosts, Roaches, and Hydras. Who is going to win? And honestly, I feel like the Swarm Hosts are going to win, because you can fight to the end of eternity. It doesn't matter if you have 1,000,000 Thors and I only have like 20 Swarm Hosts. The Swarm Hosts, by the laws of StarCraft 2, they have to win out. And look at how many Roaches and Hydras are backing up this army as well. Wow, Neeb has to fully retreat here. He doesn't have backup for the Thors. That's the problem. And this is why I don't feel like you can go for a full-on Thor army. You need siege tanks in order to back up your Thors, because siege tanks right now would be absolutely incredible. Their extended range, their AoE firepower would blast these Locusts to the high heavens. They would keep the Roaches and Hydras away. And really, without any siege tank support, Blade is going to be able to pulverize this Terran army simply by sending in his Locusts time after time. And yeah, that's what we're kind of seeing right here. Blade is just sniping out Thors left and right, and Neeb is now he's going to lose this army here, and I think Blade is going to win the game. I think this is it here. Too many Roaches and Hydras for Neeb to handle. And all the Thors are going to go down. Look at the effective actions per minute for both players, astronomically high. Neeb does win the first wave. He does take out most of the Roaches and Hydras, actually, just due to the raw power of the Thor. But I think the backup wave is coming pretty soon here. We have 10 Roaches and 5 Hydras coming out. And unless Neeb can snipe out these Swarm Hosts right now, then I don't see him winning this game. He is producing siege tanks at this moment, which is, it's a little too late, but I guess better late than never. He's trying to circumvent the Locusts and snipe out these Swarm Hosts. Can he do it? He doesn't. No, he can't. The Locust just coming out right on time. Clutch. The clutch Locust popping out to save the Swarm Hosts. And now Neeb pulling all the way back. He does have a couple of siege tanks back here, so he will be able to hold on for a little bit longer, but you can see the supply differential now wildly in favor of the Zerg player, 196 to 138. Blade has also secured a new expansion down in the bottom right hand corner. Remember what I was telling you guys about how hard it is to hold on to that expansion? It's not that hard if you have absolute dominating map control like right now, like Blade does. And in fact, he's even making some Vipers because I guess he saw the siege tanks and he realizes, all right, the only way I'm gonna capitalize and finish this game off and take the victory here is if I get some Vipers and I abduct these Thors and place them out of position. And that's a great idea. Where are his Vipers, in fact? I'm trying to find them right now. There they are, back at home, consuming everything in sight and getting the energy they need to go into combat. And pretty soon here, we're going to have some either Blinding Clouds or Abducts coming out, and that should be the end for Neeb, who's run out of minerals. He's at 162 supply. He is trying to push out to take out the Swarm Hosts once again, but all the Locusts just spawning out, and Neeb, I don't think he can hold on here. It's just too much to ask for his Thor tank army. actually, he will be able to push back the roaches and hydras and the queens and whatnot, but you know what? The reinforcements are coming, and guess what? The vipers are coming as well. And once these vipers come in, that should be the end of this game. The locusts also in the front. There's the blinding clouds. Ouch. Tanks cannot fire anymore. They've been blinded by the tier 3 spellcaster, and now they've been abducted as well. That should be all she wrote. Blade with an incredible Zerg versus Terran, and just moments away here from securing yet another victory on my YouTube channel. Absolutely phenomenal game. Go ahead and take this time to let you guys know if you guys see anybody playing a high-level StarCraft 2 like this in Heart of the Swarm, feel free to have them send their replays into me at HDreplays@gmail.com. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, check me out on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at HDStarCraft. This game is now dwindling down to the final moments. I do believe Blade has secured victory now. I don't know how he could lose this game at all. One Widow Mine runs in, but it ends up getting picked off by the 3 spine crawlers there. You know, kudos to Neeb for staying in, valiantly fighting the good fight, but yeah, that is it. That's got to be GG. He's been defeated. Blade is victorious. Beautiful game of StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm. I hope you guys enjoyed this cast. And so this is it for me. This is HD, signing out.